Hey, good morning, all of you. Hey, Walter. Yeah, welcome to class. Everybody should just feel free to. Wow, why is it transcribing these things automatically now? Gee. Um, okay, wait a sec. This is a new feature of Zoom that I'm seeing only today. Not even yesterday. I had a Zoom meeting yesterday and I didn't see it. It's automatically transcribing everything I say when I don't want it. Wait a sec, it's just taking up real estate on my screen. Is there a preferences thing that I can use to switch off? Gee, why did it just started all of us? Oh, live transcript. Okay, so it must be a new feature they introduced yesterday. Live transcript. How can I turn off the live transcript? Hide subtitle. Yay, okay. All right. Wait, it's doing Robert Williams. Is it free real estate? I don't know what hey, Robert, well, hey, I don't know what you meant, but I'm just doing my Zoom on a laptop. I think it's 13-inch or 15-inch laptop. And I try to maximize my screen area so that I don't have, chat and things taking up. So I can see all your beautiful faces. That's why. Okay, so I'm going to maximize my screen now, and I've got gallery view, so everybody's here. It is being recorded for the, for the benefit of students who are not here today. Although, if you're not here today, please pass the message on, and I'll introduce Walter in a little bit when more people are here. People have got to attend classes, okay, and also attend classes with their cameras switched on, so that it would be much better for people who have to, right, not optionally, have to miss meetings. When they look at these meetings recordings, they can actually see some faces rather than gray rectangles. Okay, nobody wants to watch videos with gray rectangles. Even people furiously, energetically explaining interesting concepts on YouTube. Who watches them all together, right? So, the whole thing, they basically just fast forward and scrub the video at high speed. So it's very important that everybody has their cameras on. If you don't want to have your cameras on, you should just let me know beforehand, so that we can make alternate arrangements for us to, have some way of evaluating your engagement, or that you're picking up all the concepts in class, which is very important, because that's one of the ways in which I can tell how much of these concepts are being absorbed and not, so that I can tailor the teaching to say, well, you know what, lots of people still seem puzzled, so maybe I should go over that concept once more time, right? One more time, and things like that. Whereas if it's all just gray rectangles, I might as well just point you to some online recording and say, well, that's the end of class today. Yes. However, if you do have a need to not show your face on camera in the recording, you just let me know, so that we can make private arrangements one-on-one later on, or I can set up a quiz for you every week to answer, so that I can use that in lieu of, when I gauge your participation points and so on and so forth. Hey, is that okay with everybody? Okay, great. Yeah. So that's one of the things I'll be saying every class. After we start the class in about 5 or 10 minutes, I'll say, well, guys, now just feel free to switch on your cameras, and that's when we basically start talking about some of the useful stuff. Now, well, this class obviously is just an introductory class. We're all just going to get to know each other. Most of the time, I'm not even going to be in front of your face. Okay. If you watch some of the previous videos from the previous quarters, they're all on our channel, Nonlinear Media channel on YouTube. You can go watch any number of videos. I think 5 or 6 quarters of videos now. Every class has been recorded and it's all online, so you can watch any of these videos. But if you watch them, you will actually see the format of these classes. Very, very easygoing. Okay, all on Zoom. Very easygoing class, in the sense, meaning easygoing means that the content will be not so easy, because you got to absorb those concepts before you go on a 2B and 2C. But the interactions, very freeform, right? I don't care whatever you say. You can call me an idiot too. I don't care, really, right? Because if you say that I'm wrong, I'm happy to examine. Hey, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. Let's take a look again. Let's take a look together. Maybe we'll fix it, so that with the next quarter students, they're not affected, and things like that. So you can call me anything you want. All I want at the end of the day is for you to understand the material, so that when you eventually come into 2B with me, or do 2C with me, we can actually interact with the high, at that level. Because the excitement in 2B and 2C, as you'll find out when you talk to Walter and all, is really, if you, when you're doing 2B and 2C, if you're talking about fundamental concepts, 2B is lost on you, 2C is lost on you. You will not get anything out of 2B and 2C. In order to be able to have fun and learn really useful stuff that will make a difference in your life, okay? It'll make a difference in your life. When I say a difference, it could make a difference of 100K in your life per year. That kind of difference, okay? So in order to get that kind of stuff out of 2B and 2C, you need to get this. Nemo, you got multiple microphones. No feedback now. All right, okay. So I hope everybody's okay with this. This will be a super duper useful class if you apply yourself. Okay, meaning that basically make this the center stage. Unless you're just planning to pass and just take off from computer science for now, that's okay. Just do quest number 6. You don't have to do a great deal of stuff, and that's okay. But if you're planning to major in computer science and do something like game development or machine learning or data engineering, any of these things, you really need to get solid on this stuff. And I can promise you that this class has everything you need. Everything you don't need anything more than this class. Maybe YouTube videos here and there, okay? But this class will set you up all the way. If you go to 2C, it'll properly set you up to basically teach yourself anything in computer science, okay? Anything. You can even teach yourself graduate level stuff, as long as you're also, picking up all the necessary detail in math. Because when you go to graduate level computer science, even at 2C, when you get to 2C, you already need to be really strong in math. Yeah, and math, obviously, a lot of people have this math phobia too. Math also is just like computer science. It looks very intimidating from the outside, but once you go in and just learn the new language, you'll find it's exactly the same. Yes. I don't know how many of you know, you're picking up a new language like Mandarin or, something like that. You say, well, I can never learn this language. It's all so funny. It's all written from up to down, top to bottom, and I can't learn this language at all. It's a completely new way of thinking. But if you talk to someone who actually knows the language, you'll find that they're also human. They're also thinking exactly the same way we do, right? Because if they're not human, we're basically going to annihilate each other, right? Because people always say, why? It's a great wonder that there's only one intelligent species on Earth, right? Humans are the only intelligent people, self-aware people. But think about it. Humans are just fighting with each other, trying to eliminate each other, right? So think about 100,000 or 200,000 years ago, when there were other species on Earth that were also potentially as equivalent. In terms of the thinking, do you think that the pre-humans would have tolerated them, especially when they're not interfertile, so you can't even go for that, go and grab them for interbreeding, right? So not interfertile, but they're after your territory. Do you think humans would be tolerant? They basically just be wiped off, because in those days, we're talking about a million years or 100,000 years ago, there was no concern for ecological or environmental things. If something is encroaching on your territory, just go and wipe it out completely. And so that so there's no wonder that humans are the only intelligent species left on Earth. So like that, I don't know where we're going with that, but essentially that's how did we start talking about these funny things? By the way, we'll have a lot of digressions in class, mainly because I'm just in freeform mode, right? In my classes, I'm just freeform. I find that this is the way that I can spark the maximum amount of excitement in students. Meaning that I can't come here with a prepped lecture, okay, and say, well, this is what I'm going to teach today, right? And here are the slides, and here, these are the things. Here, we're going to work through these examples, and that's it. We're done, okay? I found over many quarters that has the least amount of effect on students. Okay, what I found really has an effect on students and motivates their learning is basically coming to class saying, well, loosely, this is what the students need to know over 12 weeks, and I got to cover them. Whatever rate it is, we'll just go with the students. And we're going to talk about it. It's going to be free form conversation. And, a bulk of this conversation is just going to happen with you guys talking to each other. And Walter will be here, fortunately, because he will be able to help you guys. Walter was my 2A and 2B students, and now he's doing he was also my 2C student. He's finished 2C now, right? He's finished 2C, and luckily for us, he's come back, and he's an embedded tutor in our class. Embedded tutors are something is a new feature that is given by Foothill College. Very nice thing, okay? So we have this thing, a concept called embedded tutors, where students, top students who have previously completed a course can apply to be a tutor for the same section that they learned in a future class. And you get paid, and you get, you know, everything, all the benefits that come from being a tutor. And you can put it in your resume and all. So Walter is back as a tutor in this class, which means he'll attend all of these classes. Embedded tutors have to attend the lectures and also help students out. So he's going to be here, and you can talk to him even when I'm not here. Okay, so I'll turn the laptop around. At some point, you're going to have a free-form conversation, and Walter will be able to help you. The only thing that Walter already knows is never ask Walter or me or anyone, your friends, enemies, no one. Okay, no one should be asked about exact solutions to your homework assignments or quizzes. So you can ask Walter or me, hey, you know what, this code is not working. Can you tell me what's wrong with that? That is a no-no, right? Because, you know, if that happens, it's going to basically tank your participation points. And so the goal is that even though you have a tutor and me, and, you know, in addition to me and Walter, you also have Lane Johnson, okay, who is also a master of all of the 27 quests, all right, all of the homework, and he is really, really solid, just like Walter and some of the other people that we have additionally coming into our class. So you have Walter, you have Lane, and plus you can also go into the STEM Center and you can find any qualified tutor. Well, I know Walter and Lane for now, and Eric told me there's a few other tutors too who are really good too. Right, so but they're not embedded tutors, so you can go into the STEM Center. When I was teaching on campus, this class, the first class, is when I would basically say, all right, now everybody just follow me like the Pied Piper, okay? So now I would lead you from the lecture hall into the STEM Center and introduce you to Constantine and all the other tutors there and say, hey, this is a STEM Center. Look, there's coffee, there's cookies. You can have all these things for free. And then you're all these fancy Mac computers. You can sit down and do your homework, even though you don't have a laptop. So the STEM Center is actually a fantastic place. It's right next to the TLC, right? TLC doesn't stand for Tender, Loving, and Care. It stands for Teaching and Learning Center, okay? So the STEM Center and the Teaching Center are right next to each other. And the TLC is where you go to get help with English. I know that English is not the first language for many of the students coming into my classes because, you know, we have a lot of international students. So, but, you know, all of our assignments, not just in my class, every class, we use the English medium of instruction. Unless I move to a different country and learn that language, right? So for now, all the instruction will be in English. All the, you know, even distributed pamphlets and letters and spec sheets, they're all in English. But if you don't understand anything, all you need to do is, you know, as you're working on the assignment in the STEM Center, all you need to do is just walk out like, you know, 20 steps. On the other side of the door is the TLC. And you can find an English tutor there, and you can ask them, hey, can you explain to me what this part of the spec means, okay? And they'll be able to help you. So everything is right there, contained. So Foothill has made I think a lot of opportunity, put in a lot of effort to help you succeed. And that is another point I want to drive home is the sensible. So here's how a sensible human thinks, okay? And I say sensible human because many kids are not able to think. Many kids, meaning even up to college. Yeah, thinking of me too, right? Not just you, right? Even me, when I was your age, when I was in college, I was not able to think like a sensible adult. Meaning, what does a sensible adult do when they have to do some work, okay? And other people are willing to help them. Does a sensible person say, "I'll do it now when the help is still available"? Right? And then when these other tasks that I'm not going to get help for, I'll do it later. Okay? Is that a sensible way to do things? Yeah? When you have help for something, get it done. Yes or no? Okay, all right, okay. So that's what was completely lost on me during my very early student days. Right now, as a student, you have an unbelievable amount of help that most students are not even aware of. And that's why, you know, students don't know, and they think nothing is available, and they just sail through college thinking I'm on my own, nobody's going to help me, and it's going to be the same all through my life. No, through our life, different stages of life, different sets of people come to help us. But the problem I find is that many people don't recognize the people that are trying to help them, but instead go after someone else who is not trying to help them, but trying to help themselves. And 90% of our life, you know, is usually wasted on running after the wrong person's tail. And so the important thing is to identify first, sit down quietly, just think about it, right? Without just running around and asking people questions, interrogating people and so on and so forth. Just think, sit down quietly one day, go for a walk and just think, well, I have to do this. What are all the resources I have? And who are all the people trying to help me get there? Okay, which means that if you find a lot of people trying to help you, that's the time to get it done, because you can get a lot of help. Why would anyone in their right mind say, even though I'm getting a lot of help now, I want to do it alone on my own, so I'll do it 5 years from now? That is a crazy thing to do. Okay, so right now, and the other reason I'm saying this is because only after you start looking for and trying to find out what help is available to you, you will actually discover the amount of help available to you. If you don't go looking for, is there any help available to me? If you're not going to go looking, you're just staying at home saying, I'm going to hack away and nobody's going to help me. You'll just hack away and nobody will help you. You'll think that, oh yeah, I just did it on my own, nobody helped me. Why inflict that upon yourself? And I can tell you that getting good help from someone else is not going to diminish your learning in any way. People say that, well, you know what, I did it with help, but if I'd done it by myself, I can think better of myself. That is the stupidest thing again, right? No, it's the kind of help. If you ask someone to help you and they basically said, oh yeah, I'll help you, I'll do it for you. Okay, which is, I've seen this in a lot of classes, even in other sections, other instructors, not just at Foothill, many other places, when students go and ask a professor saying, I can't do this for help, even a tutor, okay, they go to the STEM center. It used to be the case before, right? 4 years ago, I think 4 years ago, no, not for the last 4 years, okay? At least I don't know. So when students used to go to the STEM center and say, hey, it's not working for me, can you help me? Okay, and then the tutors will say, well, that's how you do it, and they give them a solution. Okay, now I didn't know that was happening, but my students' grades were, students were tanking and in their grades, and they were not doing well. They were not understanding concepts. They're making the same error again. Okay, that's how I can tell, because I look at the assignment, and in those days, I didn't even have the questing system. I had to grade things by hand. In fact, the first quarter I had questing was in 2019 fall, which is basically when Carrie left her off was my student. Carrie and Liam, I think, they came to my office, and they they actually pointed out certain things in the quests that I actually had to change in order to make it more fun and correct. Also, I fixed a few bugs. So before then, I had no idea, no visibility, and I would grade all the assignments by hand. I'll say, well, that's a stupid thing to do. It's going to bite them in the ass later on. So I'm going to circle this and say, don't do this. Otherwise, you're going to be really, really sorry in 2B when you have an error and you don't know what the hell is going on. Right? But if you master this now, you're not going to come across this black box error, something failing, and you don't even know what the hell is going on. That is one of the most frustrating things to do, right? So frustrating things to face is to debug something when you have absolutely no visibility into what's going on. When you go to 2B, you'll be dealing with bugs in space that you can't see. You cannot see things that are going on, and you can only devise intelligent and clever ways to make something that is happening in invisible space visible. Yeah, right? Essentially, like physicists say, I can see dark matter, but 99% of the universe is dark matter. How can I tell? So I got to make the dark matter behave in a way that affects light matter, so I can actually observe it. And so, like a physicist, you got to say, I got to do this in order to find out how much help is available for me. And when you start looking for these help, for this help, you'll also try and devise ways, I think, in your code to say, well, you know what, I need to get really solid here because now I can see it. But next year, I'm not going to be able to see it, and it better not go wrong next time. So I'm going to make sure it's bulletproof right now before I let it go out of my sight. Yes, this is what parents do with kids. Yes or no, right? Parents, the first 20 years of their, or 20 years or so, they have the kids with them. Yes. And most of the time, right? And so that's the time they have to fix all the problems that the kid might potentially run into future in later on in their life. Okay, so they're watching them. Hey, don't do that. Don't touch fire because it's going to burn you. Don't touch this. Don't do these crazy things, or you get arrested, or you get you could lose your life. All these things, they just fill you up for the first 20 years, because after that, you're going to be on your own. Like, seeds from a plant, disperse, go halfway across the world in the breeze. Okay, so you're going to be somewhere else, and they're not going to have visibility into everything you do. So the only chance they have to ensure your success is to make sure that during the time you're visible to them, they can say, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And of course, you don't have to follow them blindly. You should never follow anyone blindly, including me. I might say, do this, do this, do this in class, but you should not do it without, exercising your own judgment. Right? Is this a good thing to do? Right? You can ask Walter, you can ask your classmates, right? And is it a good thing? And then you do it. You always have to exercise your own judgment. You have to exercise your own thinking, because that is what this class, all my classes are about. It is not about filling you with information. It is basically taking what's already out there and sharpening this blade that's already inside of you. Saying, well, you know what? You've got a really sharp spear that can go right to the, bullseye of the dartboard. However, right now, all your muscles are, lanky and not able to throw correctly, right? Just because you can't see around you. So my job is basically just to give you better vision. It could be glasses so you can see around you and you see the dartboard so you can throw correctly, because you can already throw. It's just that you need more information to be able to throw exactly at the target. Otherwise, you're going to throw it, right? So my job, I find, is essentially just to make you all, fill you up with information, not your ability to think. A lot of people out there say, I'm going to help you think. I'm going to help you think correctly. You're thinking wrong. I'll show you how to think correctly. That is the stupidest thing to say. Every person, in my opinion, can think correctly, okay? The only thing that's missing is facts, right? The right facts. When you have the right facts, even a child can do the right thing. Children can't do the right thing because they're missing a lot of facts. You need a lot of life experience, because before you can accumulate these facts, you have a lot of facts, you can make, reasoned decisions. And so that spark of, discerning what is correct and what is wrong, that's there in everybody. So I can't give that to you. You already have it. The only thing I can give you is because I'm older and I have more experience, I can say, I have this experience about this thing that I can share with you now, so that you can simulate it in your head, or you can try it out yourself in a safe mode, so that you can know what's going on. So you can get a lot of this information and do the right thing, so that it'll lead you to success and greater successes after that. So does it all make sense? So if you're happy with that, what we'll do is today's class, essentially the whole of the first week really, is data representation, which I think is really, really solid. I know other sections of CS2C and in other colleges too, they basically start off with coding on day one, right? They say, to the first class, we're going to do hello world, or some program. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't think that is right, because many students do come in without knowing even data representation. And this is a job. It's not a Java class or a Python class where even Java and Python. Okay, when I used to teach Java, even Java, I used to say the first week is data representation, right? If you're training to be a computer science person, as opposed to just some utility programmer who says, I can put things together and that's $50. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, you don't need to know about the data. But if you say, if you go to a contract job and say, well, I can put this together and that's probably going to be the best possible way, because this kind of thing will behave in that particular way, that's not $50 anymore. That's more like $500,000. Okay, because you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. That means that other person could say, well, you know what? Well, okay, but I have this other constraint, right? That I can't use that particular resource. Then you could say, well, you know what? But this needs it, so let's try and do it this way. So all of those things you can bring to bear, and that is where the real value is, and of programmers. And so you should. I don't think that any of you is currently set a target in your mind saying, I want to get to a job in programming, in software engineering, that will pay me, I don't know, 100K per year. Okay, 100K per year, and I'm happy with that. And so that's a very low target. Okay, you should not be shooting for low targets like that, saying, I just need to know enough computer science to get a job to pay my mortgage and food. Okay. Yeah, why would you do that? You can do that anyway, right? So if you're doing this class, you should be saying to yourself, I'm doing this not because I want to get a 100K job, because I want to make a difference in the world, right? I want to create an earth-changing solution that will basically revolutionize an entire industry, entire field, change the way humans live, right? And so if you have that kind of mindset, you'll find that this entire track will be very, very useful, and there'll be a lot of stuff A lot of things that you can pick up here that you'll actually enjoy, not just put to use later on. You'll actually enjoy, because if you look at the past videos, we'll do more of those as class progresses. In many of my classes, starting from week 2 onwards, we'll actually be coding, and we'll be coding on screen. And one or more of you will start volunteering, and we'll volunteer. You'll be coding, and I'll be calling out the code, or your friends will be calling out your code, and I'll be typing. And in my experience, even the shyest programmer, okay? So there are lots of you, I can tell right now, who are saying, oh my gosh, I got to code on screen before everybody, and you're already starting to shiver, okay? I know the feeling, but I've had people who would have, in my class, you can look at the past videos too, okay? In my class, I've had students who would have said, if I said, you're going to code today in class, they would have basically fainted, okay? Because they had stage fright, they were so antsy, and they just didn't want to go in front of class, okay, and code. But even those students, maybe you can find links in the past videos and share them on the Reddit, but there's lots of them, okay? Even those students, after the first couple of sessions, they started looking for opportunities and asking me and emailing me, can I code tomorrow? Can I code tomorrow? How cool is that, okay? You'll actually enjoy coding, okay? You won't be coding just because I got to code and, get through this class. That way you'll just get through this class. You're not going to get past, much beyond that, okay? You'll just get stuck there in your life. No, not in your life, but but you got to say, I enjoy it. Anything you enjoy, you'll never stop. You'll never ever stop. As long as you enjoy it, you continuously keep doing it. And when you start enjoying the progress you make in computer science, or in learning C++, any art really, you're not going to stop. You'll keep on going. And then the only way you can, and I told this to a past student too, it does not matter if your progress is slow or fast. Okay. In fact, slow and steady progress like a tortoise is a whole lot better than fast and stuttery progress like a hare. Okay. Because I know I've seen all kinds of student behaviors in the data, in the logs that I have. There are lots of students who would just do really fast coding and get stuff done, and then they take a break, right? And take a break and come back after 5 days to do the next homework, right? And take a break again, do it in spurts, and I follow their progress through the years, or through all the quarters, and I find they're not actually doing as well as the students whose progress was slow but actually steady, meaning that they're actually coding every single day, not every 5 days. So you got to make sure you're coding every single day, because that is the only way coding actually becomes fun. I don't know if any of you are music students, but right? You know that, or even carpentry, anything that you start, initially it's not going to be so fun, because you're going to be doing exactly the same thing over and over again. It's where your fingers are going to start getting tired, and you say, oh, it's pain. I'm doing the same thing, no progress at all. Okay, it gets boring. But think about what happens after you've mastered the basic moves. And then someone plays a melody, like some Ed Sheeran song on the radio. I know this because my daughter did this once. It was on the radio, and she said, "Well, I'm going to play this." And first time, and she played it. I said, "Wow!" And she was surprised herself. I never thought I could do it, but I heard it and I played it. Okay, and from that point onwards, the taste kicks in, and then you don't need me anymore. You don't need anyone. Your parents. Your friends, or your enemies. You don't need anyone to motivate you, right? You say, well, I'm going to do it because it's fun for me, not because it's fun for someone else. And that's where you want to be. And I promise that you will all get there as long as you just devote yourself 100%. That means, and you can pass this message on to your classmates, you should not be enrolled in more than, I think, right? For reasonable students, no more than 15 credits, okay? 20 already is stretching it. If you're doing 20 units, CS2, the computer science, you should probably put it on the back burner and come back to it when you're enrolled in fewer courses, right? And it's not just computer science, all the hard topics in STEM, right? Like physics, math, computer science, these things that require a lot of work and mental, right? Work, which could potentially tire you, is come later when you have more time. Time is of the essence and is one of the most important things for you as you're doing this class. So don't do that many units. You got to bring yourself to code every single day. If you're not doing that, you're at serious risk of not finding this exciting enough to, to make it the center stage and succeed big time. Does it make sense? No, everything I said could be completely wrong. Everything I said today and going forward too could be completely wrong. And the only way to find out is to basically test it yourself and say, that's what Anand said in the first class. Is it true? Well, it doesn't seem to be true because my experience says otherwise. Fantastic. Okay, so you just found the right way or the better way for you. But just one starting point. Okay, so you can start from here and say, well, I'll go along this track like Anand suggested. But if it's not working for me, now I can find out some other track and go with that. But I do believe that this particular sequence, 2A, 2B, 2C through the questing, is actually very useful. And I also submitted my retirement notice. So I don't know how many more quarters I will be teaching this class through the questing experience. Well, basically, I'll be teaching this class. Well, I said, so the limit is, I think 2025 to 24 academic year, not 25, 8 more quarters. Okay, so at most 8 more quarters, I'll teach these classes at Foothill. So I'm planning to retire from Foothill in 8 quarters, unless the demand for these classes dries up sooner, right? So if nobody wants these classes in 4 or 5 quarters or even 3 quarters, I'll just retire them. Okay, so I'm only here to offer these classes for a limited number of quarters going forward, and mainly because it's fun for me. Teaching is a great deal of fun for me, but working with students, seeing all your beautiful faces on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, full of enthusiasm and excitement, and working through projects and cutting code with you, and most importantly, when you do a project and they run it on screen, everybody's looking, and I'm looking, and you're looking too, and actually works. And that is something that you're going to look forward to, because I look forward to, no matter how many times I've seen it, I still look forward to it, right? When the student has completed this program and they hit run and we're all looking, and it actually runs and produces an interesting result, I'm not looking at the result, I'm looking at their face, because the look on their face is priceless. The first time they've done something on screen, which they expect not to run, or they expect to run, but they don't know what the output is going to look like, and they actually see the output, that look is priceless, because that is what is your fuel. Okay, that is your first uranium rod and plutonium rod. Okay, fuel for you to keep continuing to make more and more like that, because once you taste it, then I can say, well, my job is done with that student. Does that make sense? Because from that point onward, you don't need me. You just find out what you need. So that's what it is. So this week today and Thursday, we're only going to do data representation issues. And I'm not going to talk about data representation unless you call me and say, well, here's a data representation problem. How do you convert from two's complement to binary or decimal? How do you convert from hexadecimal to decimal? So many problems that I've talked about in module 0, right? And we have worked through hundreds of these problems in past videos. So I'm not going to do this again unless you call me, right? And say, hey, Anand, let's work through this problem on screen. We can do it. I can bring my, use my iPad, or one of you can use your iPad and or tablet, and we can work through an example with your pen, shared screen. But otherwise, you guys should be doing it, and Walter will be there to help you. Walter, you'll be able to help, right? With module 0 stuff, data representation and things, right? And you can always call me too. You can always call me and say, hey, we're trying to represent this in floating point representation. How do I take this number and make it a floating point number, right? And of course, if you want explanation on what floating point number is, or what a floating point number is, and why it is floating point and all, I'm happy to come back and describe it once again. Although I've done it like 100 times before in previous recordings, I'm happy to come back and say, this is what floating point is, and that's the reason it's called floating point. Okay, I can do that, but it's all in the modules too, and other people can help explain it, and I can explain it again. But I don't want to play the same record over and over again, because it may be boring. So I'm not going to do it unless there's a specific request from one of you to say, hey, can you teach us, two's complement, or converting from binary to hexadecimal, or, decimal to hexadecimal. So any of these topics in data representation today and Thursday, you can ask me to do it, or better yet, you guys can do it on screen yourself, and in order to do it on screen, I think one of you should have a tablet with a pen. Has anybody got a tablet with a pen in class? Nobody has a tablet. Oh, you got William, right? William or Will?
Yeah, I normally go by Will.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Will, do you have Zoom installed on your tablet?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. So at some point, are you happy to use a tablet today and Thursday? At some point, you know, and not, depending on, right? So what you have to do is essentially start Zoom on your tablet, and then there is an option called Canvas Whiteboard. Okay, inside of there's a whiteboard option inside of Canvas or something. You got to start that, and then use your pen, and you can write on your thing, or the whiteboard. Okay, not anywhere on your screen. On the whiteboard, and that is shared on screen for everybody. So you can actually work through 10001111. Let's convert that to decimal, hexadecimal, all these things you can do together. And everybody can watch, and they can say, hey, you know what, you missed a carry there. So, you know, add one there, and so on and so forth. It'll be a group work. Okay, group stuff is what usually sticks better, I think, right? As long as everybody's engaged. It's also got the risk that when stuff is happening in a group, some people may mentally check out, saying, well, it's just happening anyway, I'm part of the group, so I'm going to get credit. What are you going to do with the credit? You can't eat it, right? So the only way you can extract value from group work is by learning what's going on in the group, so that you can use that later on to buy something to eat. Okay, so in order to get value out of something, you actually have to look for value. And so in group work too, just make sure that you're all engaged and interactive and talking with each other. And you can review these videos later on too. It will be on our channel. Hopefully, you know, at the end of this class, I'll upload it, and you can watch the video and say, well, you know what, this was happening, and oh, I asked this question 40 seconds into that concept, but you know what, maybe I should have asked a different question, because even after the question was answered, it wasn't answered 100%. So I should have asked all those things you'll realize, and believe it or not, so these conversations that you have in this group actually are practice, not just for technical conversations. They're also practice for, you know, social conversations in a bar. I don't know how that works. Maybe there's a link, but it is just being able to think off the top of your head and talk without an agenda of sensible things in a sensible way. Because how many times have you, sat at a bar having a drink with someone, and you're having a conversation that's really going nowhere, and they're just talking about ideas that just pop into their head with, and it's drifting off here and there, and it's no end, dead-ended conversations, right? And then they don't know they don't have a plan. And that's not because they don't have a plan, it's because they don't have practice in the art of conversation. The delicate art of conversation is really just like in anything, in music or computer programming, always think 2 steps ahead. Because when you say 2 steps ahead, you're already planning in your mind before it comes out. It's like the pipelining architecture and computer architecture. I don't know if you guys are doing computer architecture. Pipelining is where the execution of machine instructions gets faster and faster. Well, not faster and faster, is speeded up, because when the instruction goes to the what is that place where accumulator, where it's supposed to be executed, on the way in the pipeline itself, it's interpreted and it's ready for execution, so that when it enters a stage to execute, it's ready, set to go. That's how movies and the movies, actually, people, it's easier, isn't it? In movies, when you're shooting a movie, you can cut the place where actors are all on stage, the screen, when the director says, okay, start shooting, and they're not yet ready, you can actually go into the film and cut out the bits when they're starting to get ready. But in plays, on Broadway and all, actors don't have the luxury. When the curtain goes up, they got to be ready. They got to be in their place. Bam, like that. They got to start cold. So how do they do that? Or even music, right? Any musician I've talked to, maybe there are musicians who don't have to do that, but most of the musicians I've talked to, they say that when they have to play this long piece, the next measure is already in their mind. Okay, the next measure to play is already in their mind. They've already formulated all the finger movements and everything in their head. Okay, so that when it filters out of their mind into their hands are already doing it, and the next measure after that is now in their head. Okay, so they've got a pipeline, and only when that pipeline is ready, the music starts flowing. Until then, it's not flowing. It's basically coming out in spurts, because you got to stop at the end of a measure and think, oh well, what's the next going to be, right? You got to start. So that's why measure by measure, like Shakespeare said, measure by measure, you got to learn and say perfect that, so that you can just be automated. Next perfect that. That can be automated. So that when it's automated, you can basically put the automated chunks in sequence and say that's coming out of the pipeline, and I can do each automation. Because with automated measures, you only need to remember the first one, right? When you start the first one, the rest of it you don't have to remember. The rest of it is automated. That time you can take to polish up the next measure that's moving into your head. Yes, programming, conversations, everything is exactly like that. So when you're talking and you already have a bunch of ideas coming into your head and saying, this is where I want to go with this conversation in the end, because this is a point of view that I need to convince the other person, right? So in order to get there, this is one way I can convince the other person. And so you're already thinking ahead, one step, right? Like chess masters, you're thinking ahead and thinking, okay, well, I'm going to say this, but what if that person says this, okay? Now, do I have a way to address those concerns and move on? Or do I need to change track there? So like a graph search algorithm, you're going to build it up in your head, and you're going to be dynamically adapting and changing. Whereas if you didn't do that and you're reacting on the spur of the moment, like bam, 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 to what they say, you got to stop and think and say, well, you know, this, right? So that is what we're trying to avoid in programming and computer science. 2A is just supposed to be lots and lots of practice. It may look like grunt work, but it really is not grunt work. We're going to try and make it interesting and exciting, but it won't be as exciting as 2B and 2C, I can tell you. You know, ask Walter. Okay? 2B and 2C is where you'll start doing some really, really exciting work. But this is basically just, you know, trying to plain wood or learning all the routine things. And that could be a little bit of a, you know, you need some perseverance there, but you shouldn't give up. Okay, you shouldn't give up. And by the way, every single homework problem you're going to be doing 2A actually gets you credit in 2B. And every single homework problem you do in 2B gets you credit in 2C, right? So once you start on 2A, and the reason for that, I think, is I came to the realization that even though I'm offering 2A, 2B, 2C, 3 different separate sections, because that's the way Foothill has it, they're really just one course, okay? It's like a computer science boot camp. It's a boot camp in C++ and computer science, and it's 9 months long, right? You enter it, and you're going to go all the way through, and you got to do every one of those. And when you're finished with this boot camp, when you emerge successfully out of quest 9, having aced all of the quests, you can basically just go to any software engineering interview at any of the top software companies here, okay? And you'll be totally at ease and say, hey, what's the next problem? Let's take a crack at it, okay? And you'll have fun, and the interview will have fun. Everybody will have fun, and you can come out saying, well, you know, I got 5 offers now. Which one do I take? So that's, I think, where budding young engineers like you need to be, I think, because that will set the stage for having fun later on in your life. Because otherwise, you will never have a chance to have fun. You'll just be ending up working, you know, close to 24 hours a day, and you won't have any time for fun. Okay, the way to have fun is to get all the hard work done as soon as possible, so that hard work is just basically going to, you know, become a stream of sustenance for you later on. You don't have to do any more hard work. You'll be sitting around and chilling and having fun. Okay, so just do all the hard work now, and don't waste your time now having fun, because, well, you know, you should have a little bit of fun, but don't waste your time having only fun and sidelining this incredible opportunity to learn when everybody's trying to help you. Because if you miss this opportunity of doing hard work for 6 months or 9 months, that essentially is saying, well, you know what, I'm not going to work hard for 9 months now when everybody's got my back. Instead, I'll work hard for 90 years after that. Okay, when nobody's got my back, I'm going to work hard after that. Why? Better do a little bit of hard work now and get you know, into it. Later on, you can have a lot of fun and without doing the hard work. Okay, so that's all. That's my spiel. And what we'll do from next class is basically you guys are going to drive the show, right? You will be in the driver's seat most of the time. I'll just, you know, ease someone into the driver spot and move out of your faces, and then you're just going to have a free form conversation. The only thing that I request is always keep the sound waves, you know, the airwaves occupied with sound. Okay, just keep talking, because silence is what drives people away from clicking on your video. You got to stay talking. If you're not talking about technical stuff, at least talk about something. You know, talk about the weather, talk about some TV show. Just be careful not to let it take over and go into a complete tangent. Somehow you got to keep coming back to the technical side, but always keep talking and keep the airways occupied, right? Because if there's total silence, then I have to come back and say, well, maybe I should stop the recording now and people are checked out. So please don't do that. Keep talking, and that way I can also be listening to you guys, right? So I'll be out there, maybe we're listening to what's going on. So hey, people are now, and they've gotten past the two's complement. Now they've gotten past the floating point, right? Someone's struggling with floating point. Let me see how much longer they're struggling, and then I can go and offer some help. All those things, I can listen to you and also come and offer you guys some help. All right, does it all make sense? What I want to do next is offer, the stage to Walter. I hope that's okay with you, Walter. You can introduce yourself to the class and also, make it, give the students an opportunity to say, well, that's Walter. I actually talked to him physically now, and I can ask questions comfortably and so on, because he's also, he's been through every one of these struggles that you have. Just no questions, and he also knows not to give away the solution, but point you at the right answer. And say, hey, try this experiment, and you'll find out what's going on. Try this experiment, let's find out what's going on. Okay, but you're not allowed to show your code to Walter and say, hey, you can be pseudocode is fine, but you can, and Walter will refuse, obviously. But I don't want to put him in a position where he says, no, I can't look at it. So please don't do that. Don't show your code to Walter and say, debug it for me. In fact, that is a bad thing to do, right? Even after you start working, make note of this, okay? It's bad etiquette, okay? In professional circles, it's bad etiquette. If you're a software engineer of any worth, it is bad etiquette to ask someone to say, can you come to my office and take a look at this code and tell me what's wrong with it, okay? That is, I don't think it's frowned upon by high quality professional software engineers, okay? You never ask someone to debug your code for you. What you should ask is basically find out what's going on, and then in a coffee table, in a coffee conversation, or at a water cooler, you would probably ask that other person, hey, you know what, I'm trying to do this, but every time I move that pointer from this space to that space, it's throwing a segmentation error. Do you know what could possibly be happening there? Okay, and they'll come up with a zillion ideas, and sometimes they'll say, hey, that's really interesting, let me go and take a look at your code. They'll come and take a look at your code. Okay, that's okay, but you can't say, take a look at my code. Okay, if you do that, you're not going to be hired by another company. You're going to be, or you may even be fired eventually from here. You're not going to rise up. You're not going to be. So that those are etiquette things that you can pick up even in this class. Never show your code to anyone. Okay, never show your code. Pseudocode is fine. Pseudocode is fine. Is that all okay with everybody? Unless you have any questions for me about the class, how things are going to work, I'd basically just like to turn it over to Walter. And in fact, it'll make you better. I think this, you can tell me if I'm wrong. It'll make you feel better if I'm just out of your face, okay? So that I'm not here. And what I did before was I used to do this, okay? I used to say, since I'm not in your face, I'm going to stop video, right? So I'm not here and you can talk. Unfortunately, my in-place video is also my face, right? And most of the time I'm wearing the same shirt too, because I still have that shirt. So people may think that I'm still here. And so what I'm going to do is essentially just leave the camera on, walk away from here, or basically turn it around to look at the yard. So you guys can just feel free to talk. I'm not here. Okay, I'm just listening to you. Sometimes I'm not even listening if I feel that the conversation is just going well. I'm not even listening because I can watch the video later at night, maybe, right? I'll watch the video and see if there's anything interesting there. So you should just feel free. I'm not but cramping, right? I'm not going to cramp your style. And because I know, right? When there were teachers in class, when I was a student, when there were teachers in the vicinity, I never used to be free. I never used to be free, right? I would never say things freely. Everything I say, I would think like 5 or 6 times and agonize, saying, well, if I say that, what if the teacher thinks I'm a stupid fool? What does it matter if I think I'm a fool? Yeah. So millions of people think all kinds of things about us. So we can't let that interfere with our extracting joy from life, right? So the only thing we need to worry about is what we think of ourselves. And so regardless of whether it's a teacher, a professor, or the president of the universe, okay, Doesn't matter what they think about you, unless they're going to come and hit you or wantonly and say, I'm going to make your life miserable for you, even though you're not impacting anyone else on earth. That's bad. Okay, so that is not allowed by law anyway. So as long as there is a a communal standard saying we treat each other nicely, no matter what they think or believe, people should just feel free to say whatever they want, as long as they say, they could even say, I think you're an idiot, for saying that. Say, okay, that's fine. That's what you think I'm an idiot. That's fine. So you don't have to listen to me. So that should be the attitude. Rather than saying, you think I'm an idiot? Let me show you, right? I'm going to hit you now, right? So that is the wrong response. So people can think whatever they want. So as a professor, you could ask me a totally wrong question. You can say, hey, I don't even know what a byte is. And you're asking me to move a pointer, right? That's fine. And my response would be, well, okay, in that case, here are some experiments that you should run, or here's some early quests you can do that'll give you a good feeling for what a byte is, or here's module 0, right? I'm not going to say that person is an idiot because they didn't know about bytes and bits. No, I'm just going to say that person was missing a crucial bit of information, right? Let me give them the information so that they can better prepare themselves. So that is my attitude. I never ever think lowly of a person for asking any kind of question, even though it's a stupid question, right? But I do think people are not worth associating with if they think lowly of other people, right? So the only thing in my book that is bad is people thinking they're inferior or superior for reasons that nobody can make out, right? Genetics, whatever it is. So that doesn't make any sense, and it's an unscientific and not objective. So those people you should basically exclude from your lives too, because they are not going to be improving the quality of your life in any meaningful way. But the ones who say it doesn't matter what you think, right? Let's just work towards a common goal, because that goal has something that is beneficial to both of us, all of us. So let's just work on it. It doesn't, regardless of what you think, because that's irrelevant, but we'll get that done so that we can reap the benefits together. Those are the kinds of people you should all get together, because those are the kinds of people who will also make successful startups, great things that'll change the world. Okay, so that's all. Walter, are you ready to go? If you're ready, what I'll do right now, nobody else has any questions for me, right? And by the way, those who joined late, please feel free to switch on your cameras, okay? Wow, there's a lot of people. Okay, so yeah, please feel free to switch on your cameras so that it's more interactive and people can look at your faces and expressions and so on. Okay, so no questions for me? Okay, yeah, Robert. So if you don't have one on the computer, that's fine. If you don't have a camera, you should feel extra free to be vocal, right? So you should be able to talk more and say, hey, I want to say this. I want to make your presence felt so that I can tell that you're all engaged and interested in the material. Is that okay? No further questions for me, I hope. Or I expect. Yeah.
Professor, can I
Yeah,
ask something about like this is more logistical and
Yeah, sure.
regarding the syllabus.
Yeah.
I think one thing was the bursting section, the bursting coding section.
Yeah.
So so does it says that we're kind of, in order to prevent getting flagged by a bursting system, we want to code every day, and
Yeah, code
but
every day.
so in terms of the questing system though, since for example we work on like our quest or like a specific part of our quest, but if we submit it, like the system wouldn't like it because we haven't finished, say, the other mini quests and stuff. So it means, like,
No, the
say it'll
system
take
likes
a
it.
whole week. Sorry, what's
That's
that?
okay. Yeah, that's okay. Why shouldn't it take a whole week?
But
Oh,
then say
yeah,
like
I
it
see.
takes us yeah, it takes a whole week to finish all the mini quests, and then would the system think that we're not coding for a whole week and just flag it on that week, on that one day that we submit everything, or
Okay, so
how
I
does it?
think maybe there's a slight misunderstanding about
Mm-hmm,
how this works. Um,
mm-hmm,
so every quest is designed to take you a whole week. And what
mm-hmm,
grinding and bursting mean essentially is that, and by the way, it's not possible to do these quests just by working on your computer alone, away from the questing system for a whole week and then get the final correct solution and submit that. It never works. Ask Walter. Never works. Okay. The way to do this is to keep questing, because you'll get blocked at different mini quests. If a quest has, especially as you go further down in CS2A and 2B and all, you'll have lots and lots of mini quests, like 10, 15 mini quests sometimes. And it's not possible to do the whole thing and go and ace all of them in one go. You have to go submit it, and it'll work for the first couple of mini quests passed. The third one failed. Okay. And you go and work on the third one and do it. And you can't wait for a whole week to do that. So you got to keep doing this every single day. So the idea is that get a couple of trophies every day, right? Get a couple of trophies at least a couple of trophies every day. What grinding and bursting means is essentially grinding is a behavior that maybe you haven't encountered before, but you'll see yourself doing, or you'll be tempted to do, right? When you're coding, not the first 5 quests are supposed to be very, very trivial, okay? Quest number 6 onwards starts getting more challenging. Grinding is when you submit your code, 100 lines of code, or 200 lines of code to the system, and it says it didn't work. Okay, it failed in mini quest number 5. Okay, you got trophies for 1, 2, 3, 4, and it failed number 5. Now, what happens is that some students will take the result and say, well, mini quest 5 failed, and that's this function here. So I'm gonna, but I don't know what's going on. Why is this function failing? So maybe I'm going to change some random shit in here. Okay. So I just change a variable from X to Y. All right. I'll change from variable's value, starting value from 4 to 5 without any reason. No rhyme or reason, make some changes and submit it. So that is called grinding, because what I see is, 500 submissions, or even 50 or 60 submissions from the same student come in within 1 hour. Okay. And they're just changing little things here and there without any idea why that thing would work. And that's not how a real professional programmer works, okay? Professionals just don't change things and see if it works, okay? In fact, if you're a professional programmer out there and something doesn't work, and you just said, okay, give it to me, I'll figure it out. And then you just keep changing things at random, like a monkey typing on a typewriter, eventually producing a Shakespeare's complete works, right? So you keep changing random things and it suddenly works, okay? And say, all right, I fixed the bug, and give it to that person, and it works. But that's really not a fix at all, as you'll find out, because it'll break again and you won't know why the way to fix a bug is not to just get it to work, is to find out why it breaks, right? Why does it not work? And then fix it. And in order to find out why it doesn't work, you can't just make shooting in the dark. That's what I mean, right? Shooting in the dark is you don't know where the target is, but you want to hit the target. So I'm just going to go and fire everywhere. Bam, 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 like that, and switch the light on and say how many bullets hit the dartboard. Yeah. And so that's the approach that I call grinding, meaning you don't know what change you're making. You're making lots and lots of changes, hoping that one of them will work. And that kind of behavior is easy for me to detect on the back end. Okay. So when that happens, I get a flag, and that's what is called grinding. Most people are not at risk of grinding. It's only a very small fraction, right? If I look at all the log files that I have from the question system over the last 4 years, okay, only a very small fraction of the students do grinding. Right, most of them encounter a bug and say, "Well, I'm going to find out what it is all about," and they talk about it on Reddit, saying, "Hey, guys, what's going on here?" And they go back and try it again. Yeah, so that's fine. Bursting is where you basically disappear, okay, and that's not going to work. It's come back every week. It won't. You'll find out, okay, Aldo. You can't just come back every week. You got to do progress every day. Otherwise, it'll get very, very challenging very quickly.
So I'm guessing, like, I'm not too much into the questing system yet, but I'm guessing all the questing systems allows us to submit unfinished code essentially to the grader, so that it'll give us like some trophies, even though it's not the full
so
code.
every quest, yes, exactly, every quest will have like 15 or 10 or 20 different things you got to do. You don't have to complete all 10 and 20 before you submit it. You can do one at a time, send it to the system, get the result back. And the only thing you need to watch out for is when you get a result back that says it didn't work, you got to think about why it didn't work, make a change, and then submit it. The only behavior that will get you docked for points is if you got it back and then made some minor change and submitted it without really knowing what the change was, or how it's going to change your program's behavior. That is grinding. Does it make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
You'll find out. Yeah, I don't think you have anything to worry. As long as all of these rules, stupid rules, really. right? The only reason I have these rules is to improve the engagement of this class, to make it more interesting for you guys, okay? These rules are there only for the purpose of making you guys get more out of this class, for you to feel more interested in the material. Because if these rules weren't there, most people will just say, yeah, well, Friday, let me get the solution from somewhere, right? Go to check.com or get it from, submit it, get past it, because I got to do my English essay. I got to do my math homework. Okay. It just becomes one other thing that you got to check off. So, and yeah, so these rules are here only to force you to actually discover the joy of here's an ice cream parlor, but these kids don't want to go in there because they think there's a lion or tiger in there. Okay, so sometimes you got to force them in there, saying, all right, you got to go in there at 8 a.m. in the morning. Okay, then they discover, oh my gosh, there's strawberry, there's pineapple. So you can discover these things, but you got to be forced in there.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
No
That
worries.
makes
No worries,
more
Aldo.
sense for me.
And anytime you should just feel free to ask questions on Reddit. And although you have a tutor, I would recommend that rather than ask Walter or me questions during face-to-face meetings on Zoom, which I think Walter may arrange with you guys. He may have a session just like this, where you have a meeting, a bunch of you have a meeting with Walter, and he goes over some problems and things like that. I don't know. It depends on him. Rather than I would say try and make as many of those questions on the Reddit as possible, because I think fewer people watch the videos that we record and post than watch the Reddit, follow the Reddits. So if you have a question, try to make it a Reddit question rather than asking Walter or me during one of our meetings. Yeah, I think that would be more useful for more students also. Anything else? No? All right. Okay. All right. So in that case, Walter, they're all yours now. Feel free to ask Walter any questions you have about the class. Again, today and Thursday, you got to master data representation. Don't underestimate it. Okay. You got to get module 0, read module 0. It's easy to understand. Don't think it's hard. Okay. There's all these numbers and things like that. Piece of cake. If you find any of that challenging, just ask us. Okay. Ask in the forums, ask in the Reddit. And also the other thing that I'm looking forward to seeing is there's a challenge in module 0. Convert your names to, what's it, hexadecimal? Yeah, convert your names from base 27. You got to find out what base 27 is, right? Your names are in base 27. Convert them to hexadecimal. Okay, your names into hexadecimal, and find out if you have a pronounceable name in hexadecimal, right? Because hexadecimal letters can be pronounced B, E, E, or those kinds of things. So you can get a name in hexadecimal converted from your name to hex, and maybe that's pronounceable. And we had one student, 2 students actually, no, 1 student and 1 American president, okay, who had names that were pronounceable in hexadecimal after conversion. And someone, Sam, I think there was a past student called Sam, and they actually calculated this American president in hexadecimal and said, hey, we can pronounce his name in hex too. He was a hexy person. Okay, so try and see if you can convert your names and post that on Reddit and say, hey, my name is Adam, and in hexadecimal my name is this. Okay, so you can do these things. So post everybody's name in hexadecimal. Okay, and those of you who have short first names are probably lucky, because you don't have conversion problems, but it's not all that hard. Okay, so even if you have a longer first name, you should be able to convert that into hexadecimal and share that. And if you have a pronounceable hexadecimal name, I'll give you extra credit. How about that? Okay, I'll give you 1 extra credit point for your quests if you come up with a name in hexadecimal that is actually pronounceable. Okay, so it's got to be made up of, well, you can use leet speak. Okay, leet speak, and in leet speak you can use 3 E 1. Yeah, no, E is E, but you can use 0 for O. I don't know, in leet speak some letters can be used as some numbers can be used as letters. Okay, so hexadecimal, but it should be pronounceable. Okay, so like 3 can be used as E. Yeah, 3 can be E in leet speak. Yes, so you can try to convert them and see how many of you get that extra credit point for converting your names into text and posting them on the Reddit. Okay, all right, that's enough from me. I'm going to turn the laptop around, okay, so that that's what I usually do. It's easier than walking out of here. But I won't be here anyway, so I'll come back if you call me. Okay, but just call me if you need me. Otherwise, Walter is there to help you, and start talking about data representation issues already. You can say, hey, Walter or Susilo or any of these other people. You say, hey, I want to try and talk about floating point. Is anybody able to talk about floating point? But before you go to floating point, also make sure you are comfortable with just binary, decimal, converting from binary to decimal and back and forth. Okay, leave floating point for Thursday. Floating point is harder, so don't talk about floating point on Thursday. Today, talk about just converting and maybe Tue's complement. Is that okay? All right. So even if you absolutely don't know anything about it, that's fine. Okay, just start the conversation so that you can get the ball rolling to find out more about these things. All right, I'm going to look forward to seeing you all either later on if you call me back into this class, or I will look for all of you again on Thursday. All right, you got to and I look for please do come to class. Attending class is really, really important. Okay, and because otherwise there's no difference from watching a YouTube video from anywhere. And I'm pretty sure there's lots and lots of really good YouTube videos, even better than our class out there. So why do you need to come to class? The reason for coming to class is that you have an opportunity here that you don't get even from the best YouTube videos out there. Yeah? Because these classes I'm producing with very zero budget. I'm not spending any money at all for these classes. Whereas if you go to some of these other classes, the Harvard, for example, right? CS50, David Mallon's class. And I think he has a lot of money because his classes, similar classes, right, of basics of computer science, he's doing that in a big auditorium with comfortable seats like New York Philharmonic and all, right? This is like 1,000 students sitting there in comfy chairs, and it's like a stage. And he's got props, and he's got these expensive things that firecrackers that go off on stage and things like that. So I'm not doing any of that. It's a very simple class. With minimal investment. So that's what I mean. So the way to bring value into this class, which doesn't have all these added frills, is to simply say the way to get value is by interacting. That you don't get from recorded videos. Okay, so that's it. Hey, Mark, you got a question for me, or you got a raised hand? You want to ask Walter?
Yeah.
Or me? Go for it.
I want to ask you if the lecture is gonna be like where we learn, is it gonna be in Canvas or in the Zoom call?
Oh, all of the lecture, everything we do in lectures, all the theoretical concept stuff is in the modules, the assigned modules that are in your syllabus. You have a link for CS2A. If you click that, you'll go into, it's really a treasure trove of topics that have been distilled by Michael Losaf. Right, Michael Losaf used to teach this class before he retired, and I came to Foothill 10 years ago. He put these modules together, and you know what? Over 10 years, every single quarter, I've thought early on, well, this is going to be some problems. I'm going to change some of these modules. Never had to do that, and it's all perfectly over a long period of time. He's done a lot of work, I can see, right, in picking out exactly the right topics for the students. Because as you know, the California, the state gives us like so much topics and say all of that needs to be taught in CS2A. It's possible only if you choose. You can't choose all of it, teach all of that, but you got to pick salient points here, 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 here. Okay, now cover the entire thing so that students can go from here to here easily, here to here easily, here to here easily, and they can do that, right? But if you make an unwise choice of intermediate topics, I've seen that, right? Because I've also made those choices, saying, well, they got to learn this, so let me choose intermediate topics to learn. So teach them this, then this, and then this, and that. Students will, falter and drop off, right? So I think, Alexis, you have a question?
It's my shit.
I don't know. This is a side conversation happening there, Alexis, right? So
I wanted to ask. So do you expect us to have gone through a certain module before we enter the Zoom call?
I'm sorry, Mark, I didn't hear you. Hey, Alexis, you got to mute your microphone. Oh, I can do it, right? I can mute her. Okay. All right, good. Hey, Mark, can you repeat your
I was
question?
asking if you expect us to look through a certain module before we come to class.
Yes, please. If possible, you should absolutely do that, because when you come to class, that is the best way to get an opportunity to code. Because if you already know it, you'll be much better positioned to extract value out of the coding. Yes, and not just my class, okay? And again, I say this in every section, every quarter. I say this, not just here, math, computer science, chemistry, physics, history, no matter what, the way to get more time in your life. You know, if you're only going to live for 100 years, you can live for 100 years and 1 hour extra by saving that 1 hour early on. And the way you do that is there's two ways to learn things. And this is what I told my kids too when they were going to school. One way is to not learn it before going to class. And then after class, say, well, that's what I got to learn, and then learn it. That'll take you 1 hour. Okay. However, this is the magic. You can try it out yourself and you find if it works or not. Only 5 minutes, okay? Not 1 hour. Only 5 minutes of looking through the material before coming to class will save you a whole hour of reviewing it later on. Because your mind is already prepared. It knows what to expect. Even though you may not know the material, you know what to expect. That basically sets the stage for all the material coming in to sit in the right places. Because otherwise, you don't know what to expect. You get a lot of stuff, and it's all basically in the warehouse. You can't shift them into the right places yet because that's not been prepared. So just 5 minutes of preparation is all it takes. Reviewing stuff that is going to be talked about during a lecture, and that will basically set you up for success in any class. And not my class, any class, even math, especially math, I think.
Do the modules say like what module is related to what Zoom session?
No, but I think what we'll do is basically we'll do Zoom sessions in the rough order in which the modules have been written. Because that's what I mean, right? So when Michael put these things together, he actually put them, create these modules on a week by week basis. So if you look at the modules, you'll see that, I think there are 12 modules or 24 modules. You can basically equally distribute them over 12 weeks. Yeah. And that's the sequence we'll cover in class too.
So for next time, you want us to just finish all M1?
Here's what I would suggest. This week, just finish module 0, right? You have to just read module 0 and get really comfortable with data representation. No programming whatsoever. Yeah?
What's module 0?
Okay. So is there a link to module 0 in the syllabus? I forgot. Is there a link to module 0 in the syllabus?
There's a syllabus and I just see module 1 straight away.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the syllabus, but it's under the modules.
Oh, it's in the modules. Okay, in Canvas. Thank you. Right. So if you go to Canvas,
I don't see M0 though. I only see M1 through 9.
I think it's
It's
like
just
underneath
module
it
0,
actually.
module 1.
Oh, okay.
I'll take a look anyway. I'll take a look later on. It is supposed to be there. Well, I can take a look right now as you guys.
Yeah, it is there, just under M1.
It's under M1. Yeah, okay. All right. So that's what it is then. Where's my Zoom gone now? Yeah. So it's M1. So that's all. No programming. Don't try program today. But however, starting from next week, you'll be doing a lot of programming. So and then next week is when you start reading Michael Joseph modules, right? Two modules a week, I think, or two, something like that. It's all marked clearly. Yeah, does that make sense? Okay. I assume there's no more questions for me. A third time, I'm going to try to hand over to Walter. This time, hopefully, it'll be successful. Okay, Walter. So you can take over now. Feel free to ask Walter any questions you have. Okay, and call me if there's any doubt.
Hey guys, how's it going? Yeah, so I'm past student of Anon, so I've done the quests you guys are about to do. They're nothing too challenging. I would recommend what Anon said about coding every day, just because sometimes if you just read the modules and leave it up to the last couple of days, it can get a bit stressful. So I would recommend starting the code a bit earlier if you can. The easiest way to get help from me in the future would probably be Reddit. Our class Reddit, I'll be browsing that all the time. So if you guys post questions on there and it doesn't seem like any of your classmates have the answer, maybe I can help you out. And if anybody wants a meeting, let's say 2 or 3 of you are stuck on a specific part of the quest, you can just say it on Reddit and we can throw together a quick Zoom meeting and I can hopefully help explain some things. Except for that, I'm not sure what the module 0 pertains, but just out of curiosity, for how many of you guys is this your first sort of coding class? If you're going to get a show of hands. Okay, perfect. So it's pretty 50-50, I would say. Does anyone here know about binary, or can anyone explain binary here? You can just unmute and shout it out, no problem.
True-based number system.
Yeah, exactly. It's 2-based. Usually binary stands for 0 or 1. And so that's something you'll be looking into probably this week. As soon as you get started, when you're looking at binary, it's representing data with just zeros and ones. And you can obviously convert that to hexadecimal and decimal. And these things can seem sort of tedious at first with the binary and talking about bits and bytes, but I recommend you get a good understanding for it at first, because these things will be covered later on, especially as you get further on into your programming. You'll want to know about the memory and the data type, what is efficient for this, what is a good use for this. And if you learn it now, you won't have to learn it later on. So basically get it out of the way, I would say. But it is very interesting, and you get to understand a bit more about how everything works. So I think you'll enjoy the first week. Does anyone have questions about the questing system? Because I have been working with that, so if there's anything about that, I can help you out. Adam, I see you have a question.
Do I have to set up my own IDE for, like, does the website have like a space to program in, or do I have to set up my own like space to program and to just to set up the file and then upload the file?
Yeah, so the questing
Because I was just
site
looking at the website and it wasn't.
Yeah. So the questing site just takes the files from your code. So everything up to then is sort of up to you. So if you want to work in IDE, if you want to use, if you want to go crazy and code through your terminal, you're free to do that too. As long as you can take out that code into files, and then you'll put that into the site. You basically just drag and drop. It takes a minute or two, and then it'll come back and it'll let you know, here are the trophies you got. And usually they'll have like references to what parts of the quest it is. So you'll see which ones you've gotten right or which ones you got wrong. And it will often also show you messages about your code. Like, let's say it just didn't get past it because of timing, then it'll say, hey, this took too long. There's something weird here. There's something using too much time. But yeah, in terms of your own space, personally, I use Xcode. Any IDE will be fine. They have a lot of nice features with debugging and showing you typing errors and whatnot. So that might be nice for starting out as well.
All right, thanks.
I have 2 questions. One, from your experience, is there a risk, like say if we finish this week's assignment and we took a peek of the next quest, and then we feel a little confident to like start that, do you think there's a con to essentially getting ahead and like doing those, or do you think we should like slow down and like follow the timeline of the course and just take it as recommended? Or
Well, that's sort of up to you, I mean, because it depends with your own schedule. Personally, I would say if you do get ahead, it's nice because you don't necessarily need to rush ahead of everybody, but you can spend a little bit more time in the readings, you can spend a little bit more time in the code. And something about the questing system is that usually the amount of trophies that you need to move on to the next week is much lower than the amount of trophies there are. So you can explore each quest quite a lot, and you can gain a lot of extra trophies, gain a lot of extra insights from each quest. So if you have extra time during the week, there's no problem just continuing working on that week. But you can also move on if, say, you got a busy week next week, then you can say, hey, let me get started on this. That way, I won't fall behind later on. So it's really up to your own choice, but having extra time to work each week is no problem at all, since there's more than enough things to learn and stuff to code every week.
Is cause I tried the first quest we're gonna have, and I'm just like wondering, because it doesn't seem like it's telling us how what's the maximum amount of trophies.
Yeah. This comes up every quarter. So there is no how many points you're supposed to get on each quest. Basically, there is a requirement for each quest if you want to move on to the next one. So it's a password system, which means you gain enough of the trophies, meaning you've done enough of the code that works and the system acknowledges it, and then it'll give you a code, and then that code you can put into the website and you'll get the next week's quest. But usually the amount of max trophies is way higher than that, and it can be very hidden things, very extra functions, or things within the quest directions that might be optional. Those things will give you some extra trophies.
But there's also a risk of us like trying to like dig into stuff, and then like turns out like it's just okay at the first place.
Yeah, no. Of course, there are chances you dig in, but I mean, if you're digging into the code, at least you'll be learning something, and you'll know the code very well. And most of the time, you'll be able to find something. I think most people do get trophies past the requirement, just because it's pretty laid out into the questing directions, especially here in this first quarter. So you'll sort of know what you want to do if you want to gain those extra trophies. It's
Okay.
not too secretive.
Okay. Gotcha.
And Andrew, you seem to have a question?
Yes. Quick question. This entry code thing, because I saw the first quests thing on Canvas, and it says we're supposed to find the entry code somewhere on Canvas to be able to get to this assignment. It's supposed to be secret. Is there like a spot we look for these? How do we find those?
I don't remember. I believe it might be in the syllabus or some of the welcome pages.
Okay.
Maybe someone else can help out with that. Have you guys seen to
It
find
is
It's
it?
in the syllabus, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
and
so you'll find that in syllabus.
okay, and that's the way that this system works. We find these codes, we put them into the website, and then the website will let us submit files of the code that we need to do to be like graded.
Essentially, so the reason you're getting the code is just because you're starting out right now. So this is just for the first quest. From here on out, you're not really going to be asking or looking for the code. Instead, you'll get the code from the questing site. So basically, you submit the code for this week, and then the questing site will, after a certain amount of trophies, will go, oh, here's code for the next one. And so you sort of progress as you finish each quest. And sorry, what was the other part of that question? I seem to have forgotten.
It was just how do you what is the questing system more or less? And you answered that already. It's just you submit your code for stuff, you get these trophies, and then they'll let you move on to the next quest.
Yeah, essentially. So the quest is also directions. So when you put in that code, you'll see that it will open up to a new page, and there you'll find PDFs, which will be the questing directions. And there it will say, you know, what he wants from your code, and it'll also, you know, tell you a lot about, you know, a lot of tips and ways to, you know, write it in directions essentially. So it's very clear. You have one PDF and that's all you really need to do it. And then obviously for additional help, you'll go to the LOSEF modules or any past YouTube videos from Professor Nand.
Gotcha. All right.
There are recommended compiler.
Sorry, what was that? I seem to have a lot of feedback from your microphone.
There a recommended compiler or version use?
Oh, recommended compiler? No, not necessarily. Anything that works, whatever works for you. Just figure out what's best, and as long as you can get those files for the code out, that you should be good. You know, the questing site doesn't really care about anything else, and the questing site compiles and everything. You're just sending in the files of code. You're not sending in any executable file or anything complicated, right? Like that. So
yeah,
well,
just make sure the syntax is the same. Like they're in
sorry, I'm still having a bit of trouble hearing you.
Okay, all good.
You can write something in the chat if you still have any questions. It seems we still have a hand up.
Yeah, I have about 2 questions. The first one is about so I think we have about 9 quests in this quarter, and what would be each quest like? Is it like a one big task we need to finish? Like for each quest, like we need to, for example, create a name searching system for a library, or is multiple tasks in one quest?
It completely depends. So some quests will be, you know, a single function where you're trying to do something. Some quests will be multiple function, a couple lines of code. It really depends on each quest. You know, sometimes later on you'll have multiple files. So you have your main, your headers, and everything like that. But yeah, for now, basically the questing is just going to ask you to write certain amounts of code, and they'll have directions and will say, oh, here's the first thing you want to do, here's the second thing, and it lays it out pretty clearly. So you can sort of just follow the PDF along and code as you go, and then you'll get the trophies, no problem.
Okay, thank you. And my second question is, like for future topics like arrays and class. So for this week, we studied data representation, and professor gave us like a PDF document to ask us to read and learn before this discussion, because this is not a lecture. We don't learn from this. This is a discussion. So for the future topics, will we do the same thing? Like, are we going to read some other PDF files, or some other professors' YouTube lectures will be posted on Canvas?
Yeah, so this class is nice in that it kind of gives you the freedom to do things the way you want. The classes and the lectures and, you know, the meetings and even Reddit are mostly just set up for questions and stuff like that, or discussions as well. So it's up to you how you want to learn that. You can go through the modules that are, I believe you should have those on Canvas as well, and you can also go through LOSEF modules. I can send a link in the chat if those are hard to find, and then you can learn it. And usually I like to do about a day or two of reading of them of the content, and then I'll start coding. And then usually the time where we use the classes and the Reddit the most is when we're coding, to try to figure out, hey, you know, I'm working on this solution, has anyone got past this? And you'll collaborate on that, and so most of the collaboration will be working together, and so you can do the reading and the preparation beforehand on your own. And then if you have any questions based on that reading, you can also ask that on the Reddit or in class or whatever.
Okay, so basically there are readings like to prepare.
Yeah, and as I said, you can choose how to do it. You can go through LOSEF modules. You can try to just follow the directions of the quests. You can go through the YouTube channel, or you can also, you know, ask questions, have and ask for meetings as well. So whatever works for you, or what you prefer, you can go ahead and do that. And like I said, I like to do a day or two of reading, then I like to look at the directions of the code, get started, and spend the rest of the week writing the code. Obviously, this first week and maybe the second week is going to be a bit more reading and less coding. But shortly you'll get into where you're basically reading about what you need to do, and then the rest of the week is just coding it.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Any other questions except for that? Seems to be good then. So did you all read the someone said that you guys had a PDF to read beforehand? Or was this something in the module that maybe not everybody has got to just yet?
Yeah, I think the
Okay.
PDF is just called data representation.
Yeah, the
Okay.
PDF is the module. I think that's
Okay. Yeah, then I would recommend the modules for sure, since that's set up to go according to the class. For some quests, you might look to outside resources, but for the most part, the LOCEF modules and the things that Professor Nanda hands out, they'll follow along with the quest, so those will be the easiest to follow. If you don't have any other questions, Professor Anand, are you still here?
Yeah, you guys are done?
Yeah, we don't seem to have any questions, and I don't think everyone has done the module reading, so I'm not sure where to start off with the data representation stuff.
All right. So if you guys like, we can, where's Will gone? Oh yeah, there he is. If you guys like, we have about a half hour before the class ends. If you guys like, we can just go over the basics of binary if you want. Try and convert from one base to another in binary. And it's basically all exactly the same stuff that I've said 100 times in the videos before, but it doesn't hurt to go over that one more time if you guys want it live. So if you want,
sorry.
we can just convert
Sorry,
some
I just
binary.
wanted to say my iPad's kind of dead right now, but I can charge it for Thursday. Sorry about I didn't prepare.
It's okay. It's okay. Anybody else have an iPad with or a tablet with a pencil? No. Okay. How about one of the things you can do? Maybe Canvas. We need a shared whiteboard, and maybe Zoom gives you a shared whiteboard.
That works.
I thought Zoom had a shared whiteboard.
It does.
Where is it?
You go to share screen and then you have whiteboard as an option next to your screen.
Oh, it's under share screen.
Yeah, you have to share your screen first.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am sharing. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. I'm just share screen. Maybe advanced sharing options. You said. No, I can't see it. Hey,
on my computer,
well,
it's like in the lower right corner.
Hillary, you were saying something?
Never mind.
Is this yours? Hillary, is this yours? Oh no, it's Adam's.
No,
Adam's. Yeah. Hey, Adam, how did you get the whiteboard? I can't see it under my share screen thing. It's like if I click on share screen,
I just pressed screen share. If I click on share screen, it brings up an additional menu
okay.
where
Wow,
I can
this is so
click
crazy.
whiteboard.
This is crazy. Yeah, I got it. Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah.
You know what? The funny thing is, my share screen button has that up arrow, that arrow thing, and so apparently, if you click on the arrow, you get different options as opposed to if you click on the green share screen button itself. When I click on the share screen button, I get this whiteboard option. Okay. All right. So any of you can share the screen, and then we'll just call out some numbers and try and convert them from one base to another and so on and so forth. Okay. So anybody, doesn't have to be me. although if nobody volunteers, I will do it, obviously. But if someone can just pick up the whiteboard, share your screen, and then click on, whiteboard, and then we can try and convert some numbers. Aldo, thank you. Okay, now, very basics of data representation essentially is that, which you'll find out in module 0, is that we are essentially using are accustomed to using 10 digits for our numbers. Yes, 0, 1, 2, 3. They're all different shapes. 0, 1, 2, different shapes. 10 distinct digits. Yes or no? I got to get some
Yes.
feedback. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yep.
Now, if you only had, before we go to binary, suppose someone said, well, you got to communicate from here to New York or some other place, Timbuktu or some other place in the world with that other person, but you can't use letters. The only thing you can communicate to the other person are numbers. Yeah. So you cannot use letters. You can only use numbers to talk to other people. Now, if that were the case, is it possible to have a reasonable or intelligible, not reasonable, okay, intelligible conversation with the other party? You cannot share letters and words. You can only share numbers, okay? But you have a complex thought in your head. You have a thought that you need to convey to that other person, but you can only tell them numbers and not letters. Can you convey that thought to that person or not? So this is an open challenge, right? It's an open question, and you should all try to come up with guesses. Can you communicate with a person with whom you can only talk numbers?
Morse code does that in a way.
So how do you know Morse code only sends numbers? I thought it sends letters. Yes.
Yeah, it's because the question was like, is if we didn't have letters or numbers, how do we communicate? And Morse codes are just essentially shapes or physical drawings in a way that
Oh,
kind of
I see. Okay.
communicates.
All right. So all right, let's not go to Morse code, because in Morse code, we're using shapes, right, with dots and dashes, and using dots and dashes, you can reconstruct the shape on the other side. But let's assume for now, it's not Morse code. You just have numbers, okay? You have quantities. You only have quantities that you can send to the other side. How can you communicate?
You could have a unique pattern of numbers for every letter and spell out what you're trying to say.
Thank you. Was it Alec? Was it Alec?
Yeah, that was me.
Alec, yes.
Yeah, that was Alec.
Thank you, Alec. Yeah. All right. So all you're going to do is, okay, well, you know what? I don't have letters. I only have these 9 symbols. So let me just use these combinations of symbols to represent letters for me, right? So basically what that means is that you're going to develop a code. It's called a code because what you're transmitting is exactly a representation of the information, not the actual information. So you're going to say, my number 507 stands for the letter A. 508 stands for the letter B, and so on and so forth. So you're going to block off some chunk of numbers and say, these are the numbers that are going to stand for letters. So you're going to use certain numbers as letters. Now, the challenge is, what happens if you actually want to transmit those numbers itself, right? So those numbers, now you said 500 is going to stand for A. How are you going to transmit the number 500?
I think, for example, there are 50 or 52 states, I don't remember, in America, and we denote each state for one number in decimal, and for the cities inside state, we use a small fraction. So, for example, 1.1 for a city and 1 for a state, up to 50.
Okay. All right. Let's not do that. Okay. Let's not. It's possible using, but I think there is a simpler way. Okay, much simpler way to do that. Adam has his hand up. I think he has a solution. So let's try that. Okay, this is multiple ways. Let's look at this.
Instead of just assuming that it's like a letter or a number that we're sending, we could start with an indicator at the start of the binary number. So like a 0 could be a letter and a 1 could be a number, and then everything following could be like the actual number or letter.
Yeah, Thank
And
you,
then
Adam.
just
Okay.
repeat that for however many letters.
Yes, thank you. So what Adam is saying is something that you'll encounter later on. It's called an escape character, okay? And escape character comes in different forms in different languages, even within the same language. Escape means, right? I'm going to send you something, but this thing here that I'm going to send before I send you the actual thing tells you what it is. So in other words, I'm going to send you a signal first and then the actual number. So I'm going to say the signal is either 0 or 1. The numbers, okay? So I'm going to say, I'm going to send you a 0 followed by something. I'm going to send you a 1 followed by something. If I send you a 0 followed by something, treat that as a number. If I'm going to send you a 1 followed by something, treat that as a letter. Does it work? Well, Adam's the only one who's nodding his head. Well, partly because I can only see 4 people on my screen now, right? But so you guys have got to be vocal and say yes or no, okay? So I can hear you, because I can only see very a limited number with the real estate. Well, maybe I can shrink the whiteboard part, so I can still, not see all of you, but only some of you. But still, that'll work, right? However, we realized very soon it works, but it's inefficient, because for every pattern I send, I need to send this escape bit. Yeah. So there's ways to get around it, and one of the ways is just to have a pre-arranged agreement between the sender here and the receiver in somewhere in Africa, right? So different continent altogether. However, we have an agreement saying that, well, you know what, I'm going to send you 5 numbers followed by 10 letters. I'm going to send you 2 numbers followed by 5,000 letters. Okay, so now when the agreement is in place, you can send numbers without having that escape bit that Adam said before, right? Because they know the first 5 things I'm going to get are numbers. So with the agreement, the other side does not need to know. It will know how to interpret each packet as it arrives. Yes or no?
Yep.
Okay, so I think so that would be that is the approach that is that has been used, right, for data representation and in programming in general. What we'll do essentially is when we communicate to the other side, we're just going to have these pre-arranged contracts in place saying, well, I'm going to send you something, but it is stored in a format called the Tue's representation, which means that when you get this packet that has information inside of it, this is the particular, very specific way in which you unpack those bits. So that if you unpack it in a different way, it's going to mean something else. Because I'm sending you a letter, but if you unpack it like this, it'll look like a letter. If you unpack it in a different way, it's going to look like a number. If you unpack it in a completely different way, it's going to look like garbage. So the way you unpack it is already known to both sides. Yeah, if that is the case, and then we know, right? I'm going to send you 5 of these packets followed by 5 of those packets. The other side will know how to unpack everything correctly. Yes or no?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, so that is basically what binary is. And in binary, we're going to do exactly the same thing, except where our numbers don't have 9 digits anymore. It's, you can consider a different planet in which, the aliens only have 2 fingers, okay, 1 on each hand. So they don't have 10 digits, right? Digits, they're called digits, right? So their number system doesn't have 10 digits. They only have 2 digits, 0 and 1. So how do they count all these numbers up to infinity using only 2 digits? They do exactly the same thing we do in, on Earth. On Earth, what do we do? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But what do you do after 9? We only have 10 digits. So we do the place value system and say, well, the number after 9 will go back to 1 again and put a 0 there. Well, go back to 0 and put a 1 here. Okay, so 10 follows 9. And 100 follows 99. Yes or no? You got to be totally comfortable with this. Yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hey, Adam, do you have I can't tell because of Zoom focusing issues. Do you have your hand up for a question?
No, I was just counting in binary on my hand.
Oh, I see. Okay. But a funny thing is maybe it's your camera, Zoom camera. Your face is in focus, but your hand is not in focus.
Yeah.
Well, why is that's really strange?
Hold on.
Oh, it's because of that
You can
AI.
set the virtual background.
AI masks everywhere around your
Okay.
face. Yeah. So that was like your hand was up for a question. So what was I saying? So on this planet you only have 2 digits, and so instead of doing 10 after we get to the last digit on Earth, that's 9 is the last digit on Earth, so you got to go to 10. On this planet, 0 and 1. 1 is the last digit. So on the very next, after 0, 1, they got to go to 1, 0. Does that make sense or not? Okay, so on their planet, the number system goes 0, 1, and the number after that is 1, 0. And the number after that is 1, 1. And the number after 1, 1 is 1, 0, 0. Just like our number after 9, 9 is 1, 0, 0. For them, the number after 1, 1 is 1, 0, 0. Now, it may take a little bit of time to wrap your mind around this, okay? But it's really, really important. This is a cornerstone of computer science. Just to get your head around this binary representation, which exactly is the same, which is exactly the same as decimal representation, right? All the techniques you've learned in your kindergarten class with your kindergarten teacher, you know, how to add numbers, how to subtract numbers, multiply numbers, every single one of those techniques works exactly correctly, right? It's exactly the same way as you would do in decimal. It'll work with binary also. Exactly, no changes at all. That's why you just have to get used to that language, binary. You don't have to change any of your thinking or your concepts, just the superficial aspects. That is why I said, right? So when I go to a new country, right? If I migrate to China or something, I don't know Chinese right now, but I don't have to think, oh my gosh, I don't know Chinese. How am I gonna think in Chinese? How am I gonna communicate with all the Chinese people, right? No, because they're also human, which means that I just need to get through the superficial aspect, which is just a language change. The language change, because once I understand the superficial aspects of the language, then I can bring the same human thoughts and express that in a different language. Yes, because they're humans, they can identify and they can tell, they can understand what I'm talking about. If I'm talking to them in a language they can understand. Yes, everybody's human, and so if you have your the skills for adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, all these things you learn in elementary school already, right? Already buttoned up and in your head. You don't have to change any of that. That is 99.99% of the work in understanding binary. Okay, that's already there. You already have it. The only thing you need to know is just learn the new language. And fortunately, this new language you're going to learn is not so complicated, like Swahili or Chinese or Hindi or some human language that is so much more intricacies. Here, this language is very simple. The only thing you need to know is that there's only 2 digits here, 0 and 1, instead of 10 digits, and that we're used to. Okay, so let's take a number like 75, right? So take 75, and let's say we want to convert 75. Hey Aldo, how are you writing on screen? How you got a pen and all? Do you have a pencil that works on your screen?
No, I'm just trying my absolute best with my mouse. That's why my writing's way better than this. But
your wrist will start playing up later today. You know what you can do is right click and insert a text box, and you can actually type. You should be able to type better.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. And increase the font size too. Increase the font size. I'm sure your wrist will thank me later on. Increase the font size. Yeah, double click and maybe. Yeah.
Not sure how to increase it.
No, double click the 75 and then right click on it.
Double click.
Right click on it. Doesn't
it
work?
won't. Yeah, it won't give me anything.
I can see it. Oh, you know what? Yeah. It's probably the right font, and it's because my the whiteboard is very shrunk to a small size on my screen. Because I'm seeing a lot of you. All right, so we want to convert that. That is a 75 in decimal. Now, 75 in decimal in our heads is a quantity, isn't it? Everybody knows what 75 is. Yes? 75, yeah, you know how much 75 is, yes? Okay, now we want to know in decimal that's 75, but how will you represent 75 in binary? Binary, if you didn't have all these fancy digits, 0, 1, 7, all these with the luxury of 7, 9, 10 digits, we don't have it on that planet. So if you go to that planet, those guys only have 2 fingers. Okay, how are you going to tell them this is 75? You got to tell them 75 in their language, and their language only has 2. So how would you do that? How would you convert the 75 into binary in their language? Do you want to do that right now in class with us? And I'm happy to walk you through this if you want. Yes, David is nodding his head. Yeah, okay. All right, so here's what we want to do. So before we do that, let's do one other very simple thing. let's just write a binary pattern, and I'll show you what it means, and then we'll try and see how we can get that binary pattern out of 75. Okay, so write a number. I don't know, 010111, 010111. Okay, 010111. Okay, so this is a binary number. I mean, it's a number that they would write in that planet. Okay, where 011. So what is that? What is that quantity? How big is that quantity? Now, in order to understand how big that quantity is, let's also on the right side write a decimal number. Let's say 475. 475. You pick any number. It doesn't have to be 475. Yeah. Okay, that's 475. Now, decimal. How do we make sense of 475? What is 475? How do you make sense of it? What is concerned? What is contained in 475? What do you have inside of 475?
475.
Exactly.
470.
Yes, thank you, Aldo. All right. In fact, the way you pronounce it already has the answer in it, right? So what 475 means is that there's 5 ones. Yeah, 5 ones. How many tens?
7.
7 tens. Yeah. And how many hundreds? 4 hundreds. So you put them all together, you get 475. Okay. But here's the cool thing. Now, yeah, exactly. You know, Aldo actually wrote it out in the right way too. So your 5 ones are basically 5 of 10 to the zeros, because any number raised to the power 0 is 1. Yes or no? Yeah, and here's an interesting question for you. What is 0 to the power 0? A very interesting question. We're not going to go to the answer. And I wish you many hours of looking it up on the internet for different kinds of arguments different people have advanced. What is 0 to the 0? And Don Knuth also wrote a piece on it, I think a very, very long time ago. I don't even know if it's available on the internet anymore. But they're all very interesting points of view. 0 to the 0. Okay, 0. So any number to the power 0 is 1. So that 5 basically says there is 5 of 10 to the zeros. 5 10 to the zeros in this number. Yes? Because 10 to the 0 is 1. So 5 10. Yeah, Andrew, yes.
Hey, my next class is at 10, and I'm here at Foothill. I have to get going to that area. Is it all right if I pop out?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yes, same
Andrew.
here.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, cool.
What time is it now? What time
Thank
is
you
it
so
now?
much.
Oh my gosh, it's
9:52.
9:52. All right, but you know what? Thank you all for your time. I thought we had a bit more time, but it's okay. Please do. We can continue. In fact, this is what we should do. Either you guys or you, in conjunction with Walter, finish that. Okay, 475, and then convert this. All you have to do is in this binary number, the rightmost one is 2 to the zeros. And the next number says how many 2 to the 1s, how many 2 to the 2s, 2 to the 3s, 2 to the 4s, 2 to the 5s. Okay, just like here, you have 10 to the 0, 10 to the 1, 10 to the 2, 10 to the 3. Here you have that, and you just have to add them all up. You get that. Do that, and please share that on Reddit. Okay, and that would be absolutely fantastic. That's all we needed to accomplish for today, anyway. And next class on Thursday we'll do more interesting, exciting stuff.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Thanks.
All right.
Thank you all for sticking around.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
You have a good day.
All right, you too. See you later. Hey, Walter, all good?
Yes, all good.
Awesome. So what you should do is just feel free to talk to them, talk to the students, email them, or ask on the Reddit if you want, or if you want to send a message by email, just send it to me and I'll send it out to the whole class. You should feel free to organize a Zoom session with them anytime. Try and get more people rather than do one-on-ones. You save your one-on-ones for exceptional situations, because it'll be more work for you, because you spend a lot of time explaining it to someone and someone will have the same question again, right? So try and see if you can get lots of people, and also when you do the Zoom thing, record it, and upon your discretion, if you would like for that recording to be made available in general on our channel for all the other students, you can send me the recording, or I'll just set you up so you can upload it directly to our channel. Yeah, after you make the require, edits you want, you can just upload it. I think it's going well. The class strength usually drops after the first couple of classes. When people are, first couple of classes, Foothill, this is one of the things I don't like about, maybe colleges in general, is that they allow students to go shopping in the first week. And they go to a lot of classes, they attend lots of classes, and then at the end, they make the decision about which class they want to do, not based on the subject matter, but based on the professor and a lot of things that are not relevant. So, yeah, a lot of students will drop, but still, I think we'll have a decent class strength in 2A this quarter. And I think you'll have fun. Right? Let me know if there's any problems. Just let me know. Constantine will probably reach out to you with information about. I don't know how the pay works. You'll just get paid automatically by Foothill. Yeah, I think. If not, you should just email Constantine.
I'm in no rush for that. I'm fine either way. So it's I no
anything.
worries.
Yeah, any administrative issues, just email Constantine. He usually just responds within a day. He's on the job all the time, most of the time, I think. So he'll get back to you. And of course,
the only thing I was thinking of is if there's any way I could know what sort of modules we're doing that week, since I want to make sure I know what they're looking at.
Yeah. Click on CS2A in the Michael Losef link. CS2A, okay. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the modules there are also marked with week number, or at least number, right?
Yeah, they're week 1A, week 2A. They're those ones,
is
right?
What it is? No, I don't know. That was in Canvas. I'm talking about the one on my mirror, the one that I have.
Yeah, on quest.nonlinearmedia.org.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I see. I didn't know that.
It's week 1A, the programming experience, and then within that, there's welcome, reading, hello world, the anatomy of a program.
Oh, okay, cool. That's great. That's
okay.
Great.
So I'll just follow the. Okay, I'll just follow that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
You shouldn't have any problems. Even if you just come to these classes cold, all of this you'll probably know already. So, but it doesn't hurt to just look at what's going to be covered. Thanks.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Awesome. I'll see you on Thursday then.
Yeah. Take care.
Bye.